Welcome to Weekend Night Live, hosted by Samuel Jacobs Abbey, where we play music, talk shows, and interviews on Be Inspired Podcast Network. Stay tuned and keep your dial on www.beinspiredpodcast.com. Don't forget to stay connected, be inspired, be unique, and be different. To Weekend Night Live, hosted by Samuel Jacobs Abbey, where we play music, talk shows, and interviews on Be Inspired Podcast Network. Stay tuned and keep your dial on www.beinspiredpodcast.com. Don't forget to stay connected, be inspired, be unique, and be different.
My name is Richard Crabb. I'm coming to you live from Virginia in the U.S. And thank you all who have come online, those some on the phone. We just want to thank you. This is a very special edition of our monthly program. I'm saying special because it's talking about love. Who doesn't want to talk about love? Or maybe more than talking about it, we would love to experience love. And we want to do it right. And so today we'll talk about it. And after today, we will put it into practice. So here we go. Help Me to Love You is our title for today's discussion. People begin relationships and fall in love for so many different reasons. Some are attracted by a partner's personality. When you ask different people, why they're with the one they have, you get all kinds of reasons. As many reasons as there are people you might even get, For some, as I said, it's the person's personality. Others, by the person's status. And I'm sure you've heard about the beauty. And also, he's so handsome. There are those for whom money is the pool. More money, more love. Some also cite a humble attitude. We've heard people mention intelligence. Oh, she is so smart. Wow, this dude, he's a shark. He's just great. And you must have heard comments like, she is so caring. Or, he takes so much care of me. He's always checking up on how I'm doing. How about, he makes me feel so special. The lady might say, he's so kind. I feel so relaxed in his company. He might also say, she is just right for me. Yes, love is in the air. It is Valentine's month. Well, as I'm sure you all know, Valentine's Day, February 14, has come and gone. And if past experience prevails, then definitely there are those who rejoiced because they got something special from their loved ones. And they loved it. They liked it. But it's possible there are some, even on the line right now, listening to me, who just wondered, why did she even bother? Why did he even bother to get me this? Dissatisfied. Some of you may have been surprised. Others perhaps disappointed at what you got or didn't get. And certainly for some, it was another time spent fretting or agonizing about when they will find that special love, that one person they can call theirs. Maybe you're listening to me. But amid all the range of emotions you can imagine, there are also those who feel frustrated in either not receiving love the way they expected or expect, or unable to make the one they love happy, though they feel they're trying hard. The truth is that this feeling is not limited to Valentine's. It can persist. And from what we hear in our work, for some couples, this may have lasted for years. So what happened to the love that drew two people close together so much that they decided to spend the rest of their lives together as a husband and wife? And for those who are now in relationships, what happened to the love that drew to each other? And why is it that despite a partner or a spouse's best efforts, the partner or spouse sometimes just still doesn't feel loved? So our question for the moment is, what can we do as partners or spouses to ensure that both of us feel truly loved? So here we go. Probably the first thing to do is to revisit what attracted you to each other. And whatever it is it still present in the relationship? And if it isn't, why not? What caused it to disappear? You see, beauty fades. So if yours was beauty and the beauty isn't there again, it's understandable maybe. Money also may stop flowing in, just like it used to. And then smart folks turn out sometimes to be of little help with what we call street smarts. And the quietness that was taken to be a humble attitude actually blossoms into stubbornness. So, think again. What caused whatever attracted you to each other to fade away or to disappear from your relationship? That's where we have to start. What happened? The second thing, and which many people might identify with, is this. Stop taking your spouse, stop taking your partner for granted. And instead of focusing on your woes, why not start off by counting your blessings? First of all, that you have somebody special in your life. Remember when the two of you were inseparable? Always doing things together? Traveling? Taking photos, posting on Instagram, etc.? Exchanging multiple texts every day? What happened to all that? In their book, Moments with You, Dennis and Barbara Rainey, longtime ministers in marriage, give several reasons why spouses need each other, which would then erase the whole idea of or practice of taking each other for granted. Here are some of the things they talk about. You need your spouse for honesty. Who else knows you so well and can give you such an honest perspective on things when you need it most? Maybe for some of us, we want to hide from them. Who else knows you so well to give you an honest perspective on anything you're thinking about or discussing? So that's honesty. Second reason we need each other is variety. Think of how your life would be boring if everything happened exactly like you alone wanted. Somebody else is in your life and does things differently. Even upsetting the rhythm of everyday life is good for us. So, how would your life be without someone who disrupted now and then? Perhaps so boring. The reason we need each other is for encouragement. God still believes in you when others don't, even including yourself. Who helps you remember your uniqueness and significance and tells you so. And then we have togetherness. And I love this question that Dennis and Barbara Rainey put. They say, who else can multiply your joys, divide your sorrows, and add to your experience with God by sharing it together? Some math there. Who else can multiply your joys, divide your sorrows, and add to your experience with God by sharing it together? And the next reason we need each other is balance. When you're going too fast, who helps you put on the brakes? When you're afraid to take a risk, who encourages you to go for it? You have somebody special in your life, you often feel they understand you more than anyone else. So we need each other for understanding also. When you don't want to talk, who can draw you out? Who else can cause you to be real and authentic with your emotions? Even when you try, when others don't even know what you're going through, this one person knows and can get you to really bring out what indeed you are going through. And then for those with kids, how could you raise your children without someone to temper your own weaknesses, to complement your blind spots, and help reinforce your positions on different things, on discipline, on how to take care of the kid, all kinds of things. Having someone to help is a blessing. And then love is in the air. So why not talk about romance? Who else can share your most intimate secrets? To see you at your most vulnerable and yet allow you to express yourself without shame. And then give you pure joy in return. Doesn't look down on you, doesn't belittle you, listens to all those crazy ideas and makes you feel special. And then the one thing we all long for, because God created us for relationships, companionship. We need each other for companionship. Marry and they decide to spend their lives together, away from everybody else. What's the difference between you're doing things alone and then doing things as a couple? Some things to think about why we need each other. We really do need each other. And God knew what He was doing when He gave you to one another. So instead of looking for the next thing to complain about, give thanks that God has given you someone to share life with. Someone with qualities that you admire and appreciate. So begin to daily express your appreciation for something that person has done. Yes, every day we say, especially when the person puts in an effort to do something you ask them to do, or even better, something you were not expecting. So let's talk about people starting relationships. When a friend gets into a relationship, we expect the person to be happy, even excited. When you talk to someone who's just begun a relationship, the person sounds excited. Well, Adam did it. When he first saw Eve, he said, "This is now bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man." It's poetic. You know, Adam was alone. He broke into poetry when he first saw Eve. What happens to us then? Often the person we talk to who's just begun a relationship will refer to something he or she has done with a partner. You know, some people just can't stop talking about this wonderful new person in their lives. And as we often say, even the shyest persons, the least talkative people, seems they are not short of words. The sun seems to shine brighter for other people. Some walk with a spring in their step. Some light up wherever they are with a smile or newfound happiness, lighting up any gloomy atmosphere. So then, why would such a relationship become dull and boring instead of growing stronger? What would cause two seemingly inseparable lovebirds to drift apart and even break up? Sometimes the two people may go ahead and marry. Then in a short while, 6 months in some cases, the couple or one of them might not feel that tingle, that excitement of being in an exclusive relationship, of having someone you can call yours, your one and only. So what weakens our love relationships? Here are some commonly cited reasons. First of all, lack of attention from a partner. In these days, competing with social media or TV, for example, you know, and others say the rival is the tablet or laptop. But that's what they have. Lack of attention. He's always buried his head in something. She's always on the phone with her friends. He's always watching sports. She's always, the screen seems to have become the great separator of couples. And then we already talked about taking a partner for granted. So we'll say simply this, that the closest relationships we have are sometimes one of the first things that we easily take for granted. We shouldn't. But yet, we so easily forget how much something really matters to us when we don't think we can lose it. And sadly, it usually takes losing something or someone so close to us for us to realize how important they have been or they are even now to our lives. And taking each other for granted is also linked with neglect, similar to lack of attention from the partner. But, this is not the screen separator type of neglect. This is the one that is due to activities. Could be school, it could be work, it could be church, it could be friends. We've had couples talk about all of them. She's only thinking about her books. She has no time for me. Or he keeps saying he's busy with his coursework. So I feel like I am second. Sometimes I don't even feel I'm second in his life. Or he takes on too much work. He even brings it home. And she takes 2-3 shifts. She's always working for somebody else, But he doesn't mention that he loves the money that comes too. And so what do? Sometimes also we find fault with each other. Actually, I'll recast that to say sometimes we focus on finding fault with our partner. It's true that none of us is perfect. But who wants to constantly hear about what he or she has done again? Nobody wants to be in that position. And after you've heard over and over and over again, or constantly, that you have done something wrong, what happens to the voice of the person who keeps reminding you Then there are friends. Yes, the other category of couple separator. Friends. Friends can make us guilty for not hanging out with them, especially if we used to do so quite a lot before we met that special person or before we got married. And they have a very subtle way of reminding us how they have been there for us. Maybe you even broke up before you got married to the same person. And who brought you together? Your friend. And now you have no time for your friend. So they make you feel guilty. And then there are those who simply do not know what to do. That is, they don't know how to nurture the relationship. And simply put, ignorance in developing relationships. Yep, there are those who don't know how to do it. And then there are those who, over time, they begin to develop an interest or feeling for someone else. It does happen to married people, it does happen to singles. And we all need to be on guard. Because if we don't, one of the symptoms of this is that we will begin to exhibit irresponsible behavior. Sometimes it's our irresponsible behavior that causes us to begin developing feelings for someone else other than our partner or our spouse. Carelessness with the opposite sometimes can come as jokes, you know. You should be my wife. You should have been my wife. You're married and you're telling another woman this, you're telling another man, you should have been my husband. Sometimes jokes may be taken seriously by the one who listens. And then there are those who sometimes take on dares. What do I mean? Here's one. Woman to a man. If you aren't scared of your wife, then take me out. Ooh, that's a dare. Why do I have to prove whether or not I'm scared of my wife by going out with another woman? Or why does someone's wife or maybe even the fiancé or girlfriend have to prove that they're not scared of their partner by going out with somebody else? It's just irresponsible. You're bringing trouble on yourself that you could easily avoid by saying sorry, try something, or someone else. And then sometimes some people can be so clingy, undue possessiveness. They're almost like your shadow. Whatever you're doing, they're monitoring. Okay, who did you talk to today? What did you eat? Who ate with you? Okay, who did you talk to after work? How did you get home? Who rode with you? I mean, gee, everybody needs a life and needs some space to themselves. So these are just some commonly cited reasons, but possibly what is happening in your marriage or relationship is not covered. So then, what is causing you to feel unloved? This means we have to talk about it. But just before that, I want to raise another point. Sometimes we have expectations, and so we have to deal with the expectations. That's the third major thing we have to do. Remember, we said the first thing is to revisit what attracted you to each other. And then secondly, stop taking each other for granted. Remind each other regularly that, you're valued, you're special. The third thing is to deal with the expectations we have, and then we'll go on to talking about what makes you feel loved. Every one of us enters a relationship with some expectation. However, for most people, these expectations are never expressed during courtship. We're trying so hard to be nice. Something may not be going our way, but we keep quiet. I don't want to lose him. I don't want to lose her. She's so cute. He's so handsome. People are envious. So we just keep quiet and go along. Things may be happening that we don't like, but we don't talk about it. Or we expect certain things to happen that aren't happening, and we're frustrated. Somehow, A woman might expect that the man should know how to fulfill her expectations. And the man might think the woman should know. Sometimes, as we said earlier, both simply don't know what to do. But we've also heard about those who have expressed, some expectation and that hasn't been dealt with. We'll come to that in a few moments. So you're wondering what happened to feelings? That emotional buzz that gets our hearts to miss a beat or two and butterflies in our stomachs? These are all important. Just remember the time when you were waiting for a phone call, or for him or her to show up for a date. Butterflies. But a major reason why we do not feel loved is that our partner simply doesn't know how to make us feel loved. You see, it's one thing being attracted to someone. There's all the talk about chemistry. But thereafter, after the chemistry that attracts us, we need the biology. What does that mean? We need that day-to-day living and actions that will maintain the love feeling and that will deepen the connection between the two of us. It does not just happen. It has to be cultivated. Love has to grow or it will die. Both partners and spouses have to work at showing each other true love. So then, we have to talk. Because my thinking she should know, her thinking I should know, your thinking he should know, your thinking he should know, hasn't worked so far. We have to express it. So, fourth major thing is we have to talk about what we know makes us feel loved. Is it watching a movie? Is it listening to music? Is it having a dinner just for two? Some people may have had that since Wednesday. I know quite a number of places were having Valentine's nights yesterday, Saturday. What works for you? A walk in the mall, holding hands, a drive into the countryside? The point here is that the more specific we are, the better for our partner. And so, it's time to stop pretending that everything is okay. Enough of the silent suffering. Get ready to talk. And yes, everyone can talk. And when one person is ready to talk, the other person has to listen. Why? Because whatever concerns the person I love is important to me. And we convey that by listening to what the person has to say. It's even more important for us to listen because being transparent and vulnerable is risky, but ultimately worth it. Why do we say vulnerable? It's because sometimes a partner or spouse can use the information we provide them to hurt us. Sometimes by withholding actions that we stated would make us, feel loved. We've had people, one person say, yeah, I know what he wants, but I won't do it. Yeah, I know she likes this, but I've decided I'm not doing it, so she knows I'm annoyed with her. I'm angry. Wow. That's not the way to develop a closer relationship. It's wicked. And such wickedness will only come to bite whoever does so. In the book of Proverbs, chapter 3, verse 27, the Bible says, do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. I'll repeat it. Do not withhold good from those to whom it is due when it is in your power to act. Yes, last night we were sharing with some couples, and we had this to say. We said, true love is a choice. Well, first of all, it's a decision. True love is a decision, true love is a choice, and true love is an action. True love is a choice to love and show love. Sometimes when the partner least expects it. That's what makes the relationship special. And so when we come to talk, let's make the discussion inclusive of both partners. Instead of focusing on what one person should do. See, when we say, you should do this, it's like pointing a finger. And as the proverbial saying goes, you point one finger at somebody, guess how many are pointing back at you? At least three. So that means each one of us has something to do when we come to the relationship. This is important. Either partner must be prepared. Either of us must be prepared to open up about what he or she truly feels. This is important. If you really want your relationship to grow, then speak up. Don't keep quiet. Some people hide their true feelings and then agonize internally or privately to friends and others. All other people, except the one who ought to know. So when we talk, let's talk about what is not working and be specific. Don't generalize. Let me give an example. Instead of starting a discussion with, quotes, these days, you could say, for 2 weeks now. See, these days means what? Recently? 2 weeks, say 2 weeks now. And say what you're happy about as well. Let's not only focus on the negatives. Let's count our blessings as well. Say what you're happy about, and then also talk about what you're not happy about. And if you can, point out what you would like to change and why. This is important because sometimes when we discuss things that we don't like in our relationship, we just say the things and we leave them, expecting that our partner knows how to fix them. Well, if they did, they would have been doing them. I guess maybe we also have some ideas that could make it better, and it's important to bring them up. And it's possible there's some people on the line who are saying, oh, Richard, you don't know. I have raised this. I have talked to him. I have told her. We hear the phrase, I have told, quite often. But have you considered that perhaps they did not understand you? We often tell each other about something. We're talking to people all the time. Every one of us. And the same thing happens when we talk with our partner or spouse. We expect that they have understood, but not necessarily so. And especially from women to men, well, here's my advice. Just say it simply and clearly. Do not speak in parables thinking you will figure it out. Just be direct. Maybe he has not acted the way you want because he's yet to figure out the parable you gave him before. Same from men to women. Sometimes it's the occasion when such information is passed on that makes it difficult to register in the mind of the listener. When couples, we were discussing with couples about conflicts, we often mention leaving the scene of the crime. Something happened in the home. We encourage them not to talk about it in the same place where the thing happened. Because you can see where he stood. You can even picture how she behaved when he went up. All of that, which then begins to cloud your thinking or cloud your listening. What the person might be saying. And during a quarrel or heated argument, important information may be lost. In the heat of emotions and the barrage of word missiles that may be flying around. Let me take it again. During a quarrel or heated argument, important information may be lost in the heat of emotions and the barrage of word missiles that may be flying around. You've had a hot argument before. Almost certainly, when you came to resolve it, part of the time you spent talking about, well, how you talk, and if you hadn't said it this, and the way you did this, not so much the actual words we said. The how is as important as what we say. That's why we say, look for a good time to be able to talk. Not when both of you are so busy, or one person is so busy doing something else. You know, look for those calm moments when there's no crisis to deal with, and then share from your mind as well as your heart. And this means not only saying, I think, but expressing the emotion, the how you feel about whatever it is you're talking about. Because often it's how we feel that actually gets the message across. I feel hurt when, or I feel belittled when, one of our soon to come sessions will discuss resolving conflicts, and we'll take up this aspect again. And as we discuss, let's learn to be honest with each other. And then, as I said, if there are conflicts, let's work at resolving them as well. Acknowledge when you are in the wrong, and there really is no need to try to argue your way out. If my wife is telling me she would prefer red roses on Valentine's Day, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't help the situation for me to be arguing that a rose is a rose is a rose. So if you got pink, it's close enough to red. She prefers red. I want to make her feel loved. Red roses are it. No need to say pink is okay. And yes, part of drawing each other close is being able to apologize and use those three words that some of us find so difficult to say, I am sorry. When we've been in the wrong, and we can say that it's actually a step to maturity. These are important qualities that come in handy in every relationship. And in addition, we forgive each other. That also helps to draw us close together. See, when we bear grudges or use mistakes against each other, it's like slow poison to any relationship, however loving the person on the receiving end might be. And so let's listen to each other and learn about what we can do better in the relationship. And as we share what we think or we know would make us feel loved, here's the caution. Don't necessarily make someone's experience yours. See, we're all different. And what works for someone in their relationship may not necessarily work in yours. So what we mean is don't simply import, all manner of ideas into your own relationship simply because you saw that happen for your friend, It is wise to learn from the one with whom we are in the love relationship. He or she is the one we have to show love to. Not our friend's partner, not our friend's wife or husband. Our partners deserve our best, not the residue after we have poured ourselves and our time and energy out to others. There's no need to be afraid of being honest with one's partner or spouse. Maybe in our discussion question time, some things may come up that way. What if the person doesn't listen? So we will hold on and address it then. But here we learn also from the Bible, one of the love chapters, the first letter of John, chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. The first letter of John, chapter 4, verses 18 and 19. Here's what he wrote. There is no fear in love, but perfect love drives out fear, because fear has to do with punishment. The one who fears is not made perfect in love. We love because God first loved us. God is love, the Bible says. So in that confidence, let us work together at strengthening our relationships. And for those who have found someone or are already in a relationship, including marriage, here are 5 tips based on the acronym SHARE. S for Sam, H for Harry, Harriet, A for Alex, Alexandra, R for Richard, Rachel, E for Emma, Eric. SHARE, share, which will highlight ways to keep our love relationships alive and have everyone, either both of us, feel loved. Indeed, when we share what is going on in our lives, it helps a partner to understand us better and to act appropriately. So the first letter is S for Sam or Samantha. S stands for share constantly. Share constantly. There's so much to share with each other every day. Sharing takes time, but we must make time for it. What do we share? Everyday happenings. Something on your commute, something you read online. How about those WhatsApp things that go? Share a video, share a text. For two believers in Christ seeking to know each other better, sometimes people think one only has to talk about something biblical or talk about something romantic. But in reality, life has more than romance or Bible verses. So let's be real with each other. The two people in a relationship have an equal stake in its successful growth. For example, each person should therefore of sharing something about their day, how your day went, how it unfolded. Think of something and be intentional about sharing it with your partner. Doing the window for our partner to enter into and experience more of our world and to understand better the stresses and strains as well as the joys that we have to deal with, the daily highs as well as the sighs. Here are some more topics to spark your sharing. Parental heritage and the type of marriage they had, the environment in which you grew up, highlights of some childhood experiences. Okay, we just went through Valentine's. Your best Valentine ever. Oops, maybe that might not be too good because what happened this week might not measure up. Good memories, bad memories, life-changing events, all of these demand time to share. So F, share constantly. Then H, honor your word. Honor your word. What do we mean? When we promise to do something, we should fulfill it. You know, changing a light bulb, picking you up at 6, then I roll up at 7:30, promising to take you out, and I'm always too busy, or something came up. Jesus taught that the one who is faithful in little will be entrusted with much. Can you be trusted to keep your word? Maybe that's why you're not hearing more. So H is honor your word. And then A. A is accept each other. Accept each other. We might have a session on acceptance sometime. Sometimes the problems arise between two people because one or both of them have not truly or fully accepted each other. Respect for backgrounds, status, you remember that? Yep. Qualifications. She has a master's, he has an undergrad degree. Okay, is it a problem now? If it is, deal with it quickly. Don't just keep leading him on. You know, the church the person attends, for some people it's a problem. Or that they don't attend church is a problem. Deal with it. Don't just go along in the relationship. For some people it's the race or ethnic background. What about likes and dislikes? You know, so how can he like this? How can she like this? How come he's not a fan of the Eagles? How come he doesn't support the Cowboys? You know, all kinds of things that we like or dislike. It's important for us to accept each other. The question here is, are you committed to respecting each other as equals before God? And as part of this, stop comparing your current relationship with that of an ex and strengthen what you have. Accept each other. Then R, revisit why you came together in the relationship. We said that at the beginning. Are those reasons still valid? The caring, the love, the security, the companionship? What were your reasons for getting into the relationship? Let me just run through them quickly. F, share constantly. H, honor your word. A, accept each other. R, revisit why you came together in a relationship. And E, evaluate how the relationship is coming along. It is important to do this occasionally. Again, be honest and discuss and work at removing anything that is becoming a hindrance to a closer relationship. This is a skill you will need, not only now, but throughout marriage. If you're not married, develop it now. Evaluate how the relationship is coming along. This is the time we call for what we call count the cost. That is, consider seriously what it would mean if you're not married. Consider seriously what it would mean to be in a relationship or marriage with this person. Then encourage each other to focus on what lies ahead. How can we shape or reshape our lives, our relationship, such that we will enter into marriage? If you're not married, you will enter into marriage and do so joyfully with positive expectations. Or if you're already married, how can we turn things around for the better? Better to focus on what lies ahead and not to be fixated in the past. You've heard us say it before, no one can make progress by being focused on the rear view mirror. So agree on steps to make the relationship better and more enjoyable or fun. Friends, we can do it. Many have succeeded in improving their relationships. We did, Vivian and myself, and we work at it all the time. And so can you. Above all else, you're feeling tired already? Then draw strength from the one who is love. Your love has run down, go to the source of love, God Himself, and the one who has shown us what it means to truly and deeply love, Jesus, the Christ. He is the best person to give us wisdom and guidance to deepen our love and to strengthen relationship and marriage. Thank you so much, and we trust our love relationships will be the better for having participated tonight. God bless you all. Amen. Amen.
Amen.
So we have a moderator on. If not, John or Amma on. Okay. Well, floor is open for questions. And Sam, you have questions from the podcast also. Stand by and you can let us have them when you're ready. Okay. So the floor is open for questions.
Yeah, sure. So, there are a lot of questions that have come through, and for the sake of those joining us for the first time, we have resolved not to mention the individual names of those who asked the question, but we just mention the state or possibly the countries. So, therefore, so the first question I have here is actually coming from Ohio, and the question is that uh, my husband and I we try as much as possible to discuss everything that needs to be discussed. It has worked very well in our relationship, But of late, though, uh, anytime an issue is raised for discussion, either he doesn't want to talk about it or it ends up into a fight. And so I have also resolved not to bring a matter for conversation again because it looks as if I am always the one who have an issue all the time. Am I doing the right thing by keeping quiet?
Good question. As we said, partly in the presentation, keeping quiet never really, changes things, for the better. In this case, when one person seems to be turned off or doesn't want to talk, it might be good to find out why the person doesn't want to do so. Could it be that maybe previous discussions or attempts, just as you mentioned, have turned into arguments, or perhaps not just arguments, but have been very negative? Could it have been that if he doesn't feel like talking about something because perhaps in other arguments he has felt put down? You know, that's the question that needs to be asked is why doesn't he want to talk? You know, and it's not sometimes just dragging at the person. We have to talk. We have to talk. We have to talk. Sometimes, for some people, it actually pushes them away, and we need to find out why they don't want to talk. It might even be good to ask: is there something I have done that is putting you off? That doesn't make you want to talk. Because like you said, keeping quiet, you're hurting. Who wants to continue hurting for you don't even know how long? This is. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. The other question that I have here, the, it's coming from Scotland. And the question here is thank you so much. Uh, what a beautiful conversation. I have learned a lot. My question though is that see my wife and I we are best of friends. But does it mean that I don't pay attention or it's just a natural thing? It looks like at every point in time it is my wife who has a problem. Of course, there are a lot of things happening that I don't talk about it and I don't keep them in heart. It's just one of those things that happens. But it looks like should I do the same thing, it becomes a world war at home. What is the missing link? If you can help us, Mr. Brown.
Obviously, you are not sharing everything, both of you, or maybe your wife talks, but you don't say something. As you are saying, you keep some things. If you are not sharing, your wife is not Jesus. She doesn't know your mind. She doesn't know what is happening inside you. So you also share. It's not a fight. Whatever is bothering you, talk about it and listen to your wife too. Don't just take it that she always has a problem. What is the problem? What is she talking about? You don't just listen, think about what she's saying. Put yourself in her shoes and see how she feels. Talk about it. Obviously, you both need to share more.
Very good.
Thank
Very good.
you.
Let's go to Liberia and from a lady. And her question is that uh, my boyfriend and I have been dating for 2.5 years now. And when I saw the flyer on the internet talking about helping each other to love each other more, I became so excited. And so, even though it's past midnight here, I stayed up late to listen, and I really, really, really enjoyed myself. My question to you is that uh, my boyfriend is a little temperamented. I think he's choleric, and I am a very reserved person. Do you possibly see a problem in the future? Because I don't know, but if you can help me.
Good question.
That shouldn't be a problem. In fact, different, unlike poles attract. and like posts repel. So the fact that he is a different temperament shouldn't be a problem. If you like to know, the two of us here, Uncle Richard is choleric and I'm melancholy, but we are fine. We have been together for 35 years. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Got you. Got you.
Perhaps when you say he's temperamental and you are reserved, it's possible it plays out in the way you deal with issues, and that's hopefully you'll get the recording of this. Hopefully he was also on the line, or you'll both listen to this later on to realize that the focus of anything we do really, when we talk about issues in a relationship, the focus shouldn't be to point out that one person is wrong. The focus should be how we can improve our relationship. That should be what we aim at, you know, rather than, oh, yes, you see, I proved that he was wrong, or, yeah, I showed her that she was wrong. And then, has that improved your relationship? Almost certainly not. So the temperament, yes, Vivian is right, shouldn't stand in the way. But it's how you deal with maybe do so, and you're the one who might think 2 or 3 days before you raise something. Don't let it deter you. Let him understand that this is your observation and that you both need patience. Yes, you think he's quick, and he might think you are too slow. You will have to work towards a point where both of you can feel free to express yourself without feeling intimidated one way or the other. Thank you.
Very good. This one is also coming from Kumasi in Ghana, and it's from a lady. She said, "My husband is a prophet, and but he doesn't pray with me. And anytime I insist that I want us to pray together, he said he's the one who is being called, and I am just to support him. And so we have been married for 9 years, and we have only prayed together. I think when we first got married, and that's it. Do you think we are doing the right thing? Do you see problems in the future?
You are not doing the right thing at all. I can tell you that. Husband and wife must pray together all the time. You know what? It's an attack of the devil. You see, Jesus said, if two shall agree on anything, if you bind anything on this earth, it will be bound in heaven. If you lose anything on this earth, it will be loosed in heaven. There is no other two people more stronger binding than husband and wife. So you should pray together every day. So don't allow prophet, pastor, bishop, whatever, the devil can attack anybody. And he does that. And it's the devil's ploy. His plan is to get at us. And one of the things he easily does for us is not to pray together. It's all kinds of things. Sometimes we are too busy, sometimes we are this, we are that, and then we are not praying together, and the devil is having a field day. So we think that we are doing our part in our own field. It's an attack on you. Pray, first of all, pray for your husband, for God to open his eyes. If he's a prophet, God speaks to him. God has to speak to him and open his eyes to see what is happening. You need the prayers. Sometimes he is a prophet, but sometimes you have to lay your hands on him. Pray for him, for God to open his eyes. Pray over everything. Pray over his food. That when he's eating, the Lord will minister to him through the food. That you have to pray together. It is a necessity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Uh, and this is also coming from Stafford in the U.S., in Virginia area. And the question here is that uh, I feel strongly that I have been called of God, and I want to go into ministry. I am a lawyer by training. I want to go into full time ministry, but my wife vehemently opposes this move. because he said that she did not bargain for that and she did not intend to marry a pastor. What should I do? Please. I have been waiting on God for a long time for an answer. I seem not to get a response. Please, anything from your end?
It's a good thing you are not getting the response from God. It should be coming from your wife. Both of you should be working on this decision. But sometimes it's the approach to it, and I think you should really be thankful that your wife has been honest with you. You know, but what she hasn't said so far is what she's worried about. Why doesn't she want to be a pastor's wife? You know, that's is what you need to talk about. Can you allay those fears, or what steps will you, or what will you put in place? What measures will you put in place so that what she is worried about will not happen to her and her children and her husband? You know, that is important. She must have some specific reasons why she says she did not bargain to be that. What are the real things that are bugging her mind? When you begin to talk about them, you will understand her fears even better. And yes, you can discuss them as well as together, just like Vivian was saying, together, because you see, when you start by saying you have been called in ministry, that's why she can say, oh, then she's not part of it. You know, so this is something we hear people talk about that God called me, not my wife. God called me, not my husband. Okay, so what? Then why do you want them to stand with you in ministry then? If they're not part of the call, you know, if you're married and God called you, He knows you are married, and He sees the two as one. You know, that's why you find certain churches or denominations when a person is being commissioned for ministry, the spouse is also commissioned. You know, it's not one person. He or he is going to. They are going to lead the ministry. That's how it's said. Of course, one person will be in charge, or one person may have got the blueprint, but it's important to make this a shared ministry. You know, you have anything from that viewpoint?
I think you said it. You know, talk with her. You know, let her bring out the fears. Why doesn't want this or she's resisting? And pray with her also. Same thing. Let God give her the conviction. You see, you both have been called. It's not you alone. When you are taking it that way, then she will be resisting. Let her see that we have been called. After all, God speaks to one person, and He will speak to the other person too, eventually. So pray with her and talk, discuss with her. Let her, yes, let her bring out her fears and listen to her and talk about it.
Uh, the other questions, I mean, there are a lot of questions here, though. The other
Yeah.
question that I
And
have here,
can you pause just for a few moments? Let's
sure.
take if there are others also on the line, or who have some questions, they can bring them up now, and then we come back to you. So anyone else who would like to ask a question, please go ahead and ask it before we go back to those on the podcast. No one yet? Okay, Sam, please take it away again.
Okay, so this is coming on the Twitter, and the individual said that uh, thank you for such a elaborate talk. Uh, my wife talks too much, and I can't stand her whenever we, she gets into that mood. Is there anything wrong with her? Because I think she talks too much, and I get irritated whenever she goes on and on and on and on. I feel like just going to sleep.
Okay. Your wife talks too much. If she asks this question, she might say, "My husband doesn't talk. I wonder whether there's something wrong with him." That might be what she might also be saying. And she might be saying, "The way he keeps quiet, it drives me nuts." you know, this might be an issue of temperament, but it may also. I want to go beyond two different temperaments. One talks a lot, and one, you know, doesn't like talking a lot, or one prefers quietness. I think there may be, just hearing the question, there may be a more serious underlying issue. You know, just that phrase. She goes on and on and on. Person who asked the question, could it be that it's because she feels you are indifferent to the things she has been talking about, that you are not responding positively? You know, could it just be? It might be worth asking her why she talks for so long. And it's almost certain she may not be talking about one thing, you know, that she may be talking about several different things if she goes on and on and on. So it might be well worth, you know, asking why she does so. You may find that you are part of the answer to her not going on and on and on. And very soon you might realize she will talk very little because you are showing more action. That's what I just think the more serious underlying issue is that you are indifferent and you are not responding positively to what she has been bringing up when she talks. That's why she keeps talking about it. Okay. If anyone has a question, you can come in anytime. But Sam, go ahead.
All right. So this is coming from Australia, and hey, Sam, I always enjoy to listen to this show. Uh, so recently we had a few issues, and we came on your show, and our problem is resolved. Uh, but for the sake of those who are just listening for the first time, I want to share my experience with the crafts through your podcast. Maybe to be of a great help to other people. So my wife and I'm a medical physician, and my wife is a lawyer, and we don't have time for each other. But through the counseling, through your program, now we are the best of love best, and we are having fun. And so I just want to encourage everyone listening to the show to take all the information shared on the show seriously, because you never know, it will be your last opportunity of seeking help. Thank you from Australia. So it's just a compliment.
Thank you, Australia. Thank you, and we thank God that things are working well for you.
God bless you. Enjoy and keep encouraging others.
Good, good. So let's go to Sierra Leone here, and then so the question from Sierra Leone is that now what role does third party play in marriages or in relationship? I say this because in your submission you mentioned that friends may have even reconnected you into a relationship, and then they also become an hindrance to the relationship. As if you were giving a prophetic word for me. I am facing such a huge issue right now because a friend who connected us together now accuses me that since I got married to this woman, I have abandoned him completely. And I try to explain, but he doesn't take anything than just to accuse me. So, what do you think?
This is true. So you can see why we. I didn't know it was prophetic, but this is a reality some people face. And let me give you the scenario when you were not a couple with someone else, you were lonely. Maybe, like you said, maybe you even broke up, and you felt so sad, heartbroken, confused, worried, you know, this was the friend who provided a shoulder. He put an arm around you. He made you feel good about yourself again, give you confidence. But even more importantly, he reconnected the two of you. You're now married. But guess what? Maybe he's not. And so now he's feeling lonely because his friend, who used to share so much time with him, is gone. And we need to be sensitive to people like this or situations like this. And there's some simple steps instead of, you know, allowing your friend to guilt you into doing things with him, you know, or her, as the case might be for some other people. We can be again intentional about doing things with them. Why don't you invite the person over occasionally for a meal? You know, to watch a football match, you know, in your house. Or the two of you go visit him, for example. If he's married, all the better. If he's not, just make him feel special too. You know, because yes, we can unwittingly abandon in quotes the people who have been very good to us when we were single. You know, and yes, I do know people talk about if you are married, don't have any singles as friends. Well, it depends. You know, if he's a friend, you're still a friend. Don't abandon him. He may be needing you so much this time, and it might be good for you and your wife to show him some love. Invite him for a meal, go out with him, or go visit him, do something with him, and he will also feel special. You don't have to do it every week, but at least do it with some regularity so that he knows that, yes, he's still in your good books and that you haven't abandoned him and you appreciate. You know, the reason I said you can even go and visit him with your wife is it will show your appreciation for him having brought the two of you together. You know. Thank you.
Very good. So now this is coming from Karachi in Pakistan, and the question here is that uh, what role does children play in making marriages or relationship stronger? I'm saying this because we can be in a very, 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 very good mood and having fun, and as soon as any of our child begin to cry, my wife shuts down immediately, and it's all about the children. It's all about the children, and so by the time she handles the children, it becomes a fight, and an impression is created as if I don't care about the children. So, what kind of advice will you give me just to make sure I'll still show my love to the children, but my partner or my wife will also get to know that she is the primary purpose of our marriage and not the children? Thank you.
You, excuse me, you do it together. Take care of the children together. She didn't bring these children into this world by herself. It was both of you. They are your children. So you should be seen to be actively helping. Maybe the way you yourself have said it looks like it's her children. So she takes care of them. If you also come in, you also help to do some of the work. You know, maybe sometimes when the child begins crying, you go pick up that child and do something. Call the child to come to you and show that you also care. Maybe that's what your wife wants to see, that you also care, that everything is not left on her alone. They are your children. So you do it together.
Let me say something from a man's perspective. You know, I'm listening to my brother from Pakistan's question, and you know, I can see myself some years back. You know, sometimes it's because in certain cultures we see the children as being the wife's responsibility. I mean, the care of children as the wife's responsibility. You know, one of the things I learned to do as a young father was that if it didn't have to do with breastfeeding, which I could not do, then I could help with that child. You know, sometimes it might be take that child and help to soothe that child to stop crying. And believe me, I used to be scared of holding babies. I thought something will break, something will fall apart from their body. But I learned how to do it, you know. And Vivian was saying when the child begins to cry, one of the things you could do is to call the child to tell the child to come to Baba. Let them know that Baba also knows how to comfort a crying child. And it's not only left to their mom because that way, you see, let's say you have two children. One begins to cry. One wants to show something they've done. They've drawn something, and they're all going to your wife. So she will focus the attention on, she finished it. She calms the one who's crying. Then the other child goes to show something. Another says, Mommy, I want this. And you're waiting to continue the wonderful chat you were having with your wife. Maybe you were even watching something together. You want to continue that. It was special time you're having with her. But she can't focus on both. But if you took care of one child and she's doing the other, it's going to have the time. And she'll be able to come back to be with you quicker. Sometimes we need to look at the practical side also. Because, gentlemen, we will be the main beneficiaries. If I work together with my wife to take care of the children, it will free more time for the two of us, my wife and myself. I'm going to enjoy having her around more. But if I leave everything on her, she may end up being so tired, she has no energy left for me. Let's think about that also. Thank you. Very, very good question.
Very
Right, I
good.
have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes, somebody on the line with a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, somebody forwarded a question to me, and
Yes.
I guess, how do you get over or find a way to get along with a mother-in-law who did not want you to marry her son or change towards you after the wedding? How do you manage that without affecting your husband's relationship with his own mother, especially when the mother has expressed interest in moving into your house?
Now you said about 4 different things. Can you repeat the question again so we get the different parts?
The question is, how do you get over or find a way to get along with your mother-in-law who did not want you to marry her son?
Okay, that's one. All right.
Yeah.
Second.
So basically, and the mother changed towards you after you guys were married, and now the mother has also expressed interest in coming to stay with you. So how do you manage that without really affecting the relationship between your husband and the mother and his mother?
Okay. Well, let me take the last one first. The mom expressing interest in moving into your home. The question is why? And if the person has a follow-up, that would help us, because why does she now? Doesn't she have a place of her own now? Where does she live now? And why does it have to be in your home? Doesn't your husband have other siblings your mom could live with? Or maybe your home is the nicest. There are all kinds of factors at work. So this is not as simple as this. But the more important thing is that this is not a one-person decision. What is the husband saying? Is the husband encouraging his mom to come? Knowing very well the dynamics between, you and your mother-in-law, that she didn't even want you to get married to him, and her attitude. I'm not sure when you say her attitude changed after the marriage. Is it positive, or maybe she was indifferent and it became negative?
I see different things happening here.
Many different things.
First, maybe from the question, it looks like maybe the mother-in-law did not even want the
Mm-hmm.
marriage.
Mm-hmm.
That is a totally different thing. But if she changed after the wedding, then maybe she didn't mind you getting married. But after the wedding, she has changed. Her attitude and everything has changed.
Mm-hmm.
What caused it? You have to go into that one too and see that why is the relationship some way now?
Mm-hmm.
What has changed? Maybe her son needs to find out from her what is happening, what she doesn't like about his wife, or what is really troubling her that the attitude has changed. And if she didn't want that marriage to start with, did you talk through it? Did you discuss with the mom to explain things to her before you got married? You have to work through all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Find out why doesn't she like the relationship, or what has changed since we married that has made her also change her attitude, and see how you can work with that. It is both of you. As for coming to your house, why is she coming to your house? Is any reasons? Find out so that you talk about that one too. You'll be better off if she stays in her quarters and you stay in your quarters anyway.
So, I mean, if the person has a follow up or would like to, discuss further, you can put them in touch with us because, as you said, there are several things, at play here, and it's not one answer to four different things going on. You know. But thank you. Very important question. You can also encourage them to get on the podcast website. They will find the recording. The last month we discussed in-laws. Two months ago, we discussed in-laws. They will find it, on the podcast website. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Mhm.
All
More
right.
questions?
All right.
Hmm.
The other question I have here is actually coming from Peru, and the question here is that I am a Ghanaian living here in Peru. I'm a single mother. I'm about 32 years. I have a daughter who is about 9 years, and I am planning to get into a relationship again. It is becoming so difficult. Is it that people are not interested in me because I have a child already, or is it because of the way I present myself, which is making it difficult for people, for men to look into my direction? Any sort of advice, I will appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very important question. And, like I was saying, this is the kind of week, Valentine's week, that makes people feel, um, yes, and for some people, if the spouse he already has child, it's the hindrance, you know. But having said that, don't let any of such things disturb you or cause you, to lose hope because there are other people also for whom it's not an issue. You know, there are people who married others with two, three, four children. We met somebody recently, who had, I think, three children before it was a second marriage, and they've adopted, you know, two others, after the marriage. His children, her children, now our children. As we say. So it isn't everybody who is put off because they meet someone, a single mom or dad. I have to add the men also. You know, if what we will say is this: if you're trusting your life to God, then continue trusting that He will bring that special person into your life. And if you haven't, and maybe you're trying to present yourself in certain ways to attract, a potential husband, let us say it might be time for you to let God take over and lead you to someone that He has prepared for you also. This is important. There's every benefit to be gained from asking God, who knows people better than they know themselves. He knows each one of us better than we know ourselves. He knows the man who will not only love you, but love your daughter also, and take her as his own daughter. And with that, we say, continue hoping and trusting. God still has good men who have no problem with a woman who already has a child, and they would happily marry such a person. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's a follow-up question from not from the same person, but it's a related question. And the related question here is that are there any suggestions that you can give to a single person who intends to get married? What are some of the ingredients or lifestyles that that individual need to exhibit in order to look attractive to a man out there?
Okay, first thing is you have to allow relationships to develop rather than see, let's see whether you're a man or woman. I'm just going to use both generic, rather than see the next person you meet as your potential spouse, because you can come across as desperate, or actually that might scare off people. And when we talk about letting the relationship develop, you know, there's some people, you meet them, first meetings, they're telling you the whole history. I've been married before, I have a child like this, and that's scary. Wait. I'm just trying to get to know you. This is our first date. I'm just trying to, or, we've just met, we've just started talking. Just take your time, take your time. You know, I know some people might say, no, I want to put all my cards on the table. But if it's going to keep scaring people, you ease people into a relationship. When they're more comfortable with you, then you can talk. Some people might say, no, I tell them straight away so that I know whether they'll be interested or not. But that's not how you develop relationships. You know, I mean, just for those on the line who are married or those who are in relationships, it would be rare to find people who the first day they met they said, "Well, my name is Richard. I am this so many years. I work here. I do this, and I'm looking for somebody to marry." That would, I don't think Vivian would have responded positively to me at that time. you know, she's here smiling and chuckling to herself. But I think, for those married, it's rare to meet people first day you met, boom, boom, boom. And then sometimes you hear stories like, oh, you have to go out, go to the club. You go to clubs, you marry club type of men. I've heard people say, oh, go to church. Are you going to church for God, or are you going to church to hunt for a man or a wife? You got to be careful, because all kinds of people come to church. What if that person too is hunting for a spouse, but really not interested in what's happening there? So both of you find who you want, and even though you met in church, you realize that neither of you is any close to what the church is teaching.
Allow friendships to develop. Sometimes all we are looking for is a husband or a wife. So the next man that comes in, this is going to be my husband. The next woman, this is going to be my wife. If you have that in mind, you have problems. Allow friendships to develop. Get to know people. Just friends. And that is how it develops. And if it develops into a more serious relationship that ends in marriage, so be it. But feel free. Don't put that in your mind to start with. I want a husband, I want a husband, I want a wife, I want a wife. That is the problem we have. So feel free. And just enjoy friendships.
Thank you very much. So
Thank
talking about friendship, as a question here, which is also related. So I'm putting all the related questions together. So this person says that, well, I am a prominent woman. I have a good job. I have make a lot of money, and at every time I'm a single mother of three, and at every time I try to date a man, the first thing they tell me, I want to marry you. As soon as they say that to me, I get pissed off and I don't invite them out again. Is there something wrong with me, or is it a fear from my previous relationship?
Is it a fear of what?
Is it a fear from the previous relationship?
It could be. It could be, and it looks like they are coming too fast with this kind of. As soon as they meet, her, you don't even know her. Well, I want to marry you. It will put her off. So that could be, and also we don't know what happened in the previous relationship before you broke up. You know, the divorce and everything. It does have an effect on you, and if things are happening that way, it could have, yes, it could affect you. So, I guess that's, I think the men have to take their time, sort of, you said it right, they're coming too quick. Sometimes, you really are not sure if it is real love or it's all because of who I am and what the potential I have, what they will gain, then they decide to marry me. That can also scare you. You are very right. So you have to think through it, allow the relationship to develop. You know, I remember a lady once said the first time the husband proposed, said, "I want to marry you." You don't even know me. How are you proposing to me? You marry? You have to take time to know me. So now the husband, he's now the husband, but he has to go back and relax for a while. He said, "Yeah, it's true. I really don't know her. Why am I proposing marriage to her right now?" So you have to let the men know that, hey, relax, get to know me. What makes you decide you want to marry me right now? Do you know me? You don't know me. And the women do the same thing. Don't force the guy to tell you, marry me, marry me, marry me. Relax, get to know the person.
So this I'm sure is coming from one of the individuals who said, "Oh, somebody is making loud noise. If you can please mute your phone, that would be great." Uh, so the follow up question here is that now, do men think that women feel secure if they tell them they will marry them? Because for the last three questions that came in, it looks like that seems the pattern. Uh, from your experience, do you think men only say that because they mean it, or they just want to make the woman feel secure?
I, I, I can only answer for specific cases. It, I would not make that a generalization at all. I mean, a man knows that when he tells a woman he's going to marry her, it is serious business. Unless he's one of the jokers I was talking about, I was cautioning people, us all about, but before a man tells a woman he's going to marry her, he better be serious. If he's not, he's asking for a lot of trouble on his head, you know. And that's why Vivian was saying it's important also for the women not to kind of force the man's mouth, as it were, to tell you, yes, I'll marry you. There's some people who are, hey, we've been going out for all this, and you haven't told me anything. So what are you going? When are you going to tell me something? You know. And you might say, okay, I'll marry you, and then, oh, great, he has proposed. Has he really? You know. So I don't think that men tell women they'll marry them because they feel it will make the women more secure. If any man who is not serious about marrying a woman shouldn't even attempt to tell her that or to propose to her. Just make sure this is the person I would like to spend the rest of my life with. This is the person I would like to be the mother of my children. This is someone I can really trust my own life to, you know. And then you can propose. And if you're a Christian, make sure it all lines up with God as well. Don't do everything, then you go to God to rubber stamp. Work with Him all the way. God, give me wisdom. As I see the women, let me see with your eyes. Help me to reason with your mind. Let my choice be the choice you have, for me. Because you know me and you know the one who will be best for me. Ladies can pray the same. Lord, guide me. Give me wisdom. Let me hear you speak to me also about whichever man I'm dating. If it's wrong for me, Lord, let it fizzle out. Let me not invest myself too much into it. And just guide me appropriately and help me to obey your leading as well. We pray like this and we trust ourselves to God. He will give us His best rather than us thinking, let me tell her I'll marry her for her to feel secure. It's going to be worse when you don't, Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is another question, and this is actually coming from the Gambia. I said I live in the U.S. though, but I'm originally from the Gambia, and I have married a white lady. My mother came to visit us from the Gambia, and my mother needed some food, and my wife told my mother to go buy McDonald's and eat. My mother wasn't happy at all. And when my wife went out to work, my mother called me aside and seriously had a talk with me to reconsider the marriage or just leave the woman. Do you think my mother was doing the right thing, or do you think my wife did not understand the cultural differences? Which is it?
Obviously, you didn't do your work well at all. You should have educated your wife better. And your wife, when she's coming to marry a black man like you said the wife is white lady and coming to, she should have known all these things. You learn all these things. You accept each other. If you have accepted her, she should also accept you. And she should learn a few things. There are a few things that she should know, even if she doesn't know how to make that food. Sometimes I know white ladies who've been married to, well, Ghanaians, and they've even asked, married to Africans, they've asked people from that area to even teach them how to make some food, and they are making them. I know somebody here who even traveled American, married to a Ghanaian, actually travels to Ghana to go and be there for about 3 weeks, actually learning a few things, how to make this food, how to make that food. That is love. She's making an effort. For your wife to tell your mother to go get some McDonald's, that was rude about your wife.
Even with Americans, they don't do that.
Yes, even the American won't do that. So your wife should, apologize for such rude talk to her mother-in-law. And your mother calling you aside, she's just thinking for herself, thinking that, wow, my son is lost. So that's why she called you apart. It's up for you to encourage your mother and let her know that things will be fine. It will be okay. And, manage to settle this thing between your mother and your wife and get them to accept each other. It shouldn't be a problem.
I just quickly want to add this. Our topic tonight has been help me to love you. And this is one of the things that, we sometimes hear from women that their husbands don't stand up for them, in dealing with in-laws, So yes, in this case, Vivian has already said, all kinds of things went wrong, even starting with the man not preparing his wife for the mom to come and visit, things like that. But it is important. There are situations where we need to stand up for each other. Husband for his wife, wife for the husband, because that can also make us feel loved. He's defending me, she's defending me, and we feel, yes, this person really cares for me, and it deepens the love we have for them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So let me see one here. Okay, I think so far we have just stayed in this area. So now let's go to Fujiman in Japan. And the question here is that, hey, it's I'm really enjoying myself here. It's already Monday evening here, and my question to your guest is that how can one help each other to identify their strength to strengthen their relationship? How can one help each other to identify their strength to strengthen their marriage relationship?
Wonderful question. Sometimes what we think might be our strength may not really be our strength, and what we think we may not be so good at, might be our real strength. How can we tell? How can we identify? Simply, it is by observing. Is by observing. You know, I once told a young woman she has a gift for organizing things, and she was saying, "Oh, I don't think so." And yet she didn't realize we were in a group together. She didn't realize that anytime we had a program, she was one of those who was involved in organizing it, and the things she did really came off, beautifully. They always added something special to the programs. You see, just by observing, I could tell this. And especially when we live with someone, we might be able to observe some gifts and abilities that they have that they themselves may not have given much thought to. You know, it may not be preparing meals. It may be, like I said, organizing. You may realize that, you know, um, somebody may realize his wife is much better at organizing trips. You know, right from buying tickets to booking hotels and putting together what they'll do when they arrive where they're going. He might realize his wife does better. So why not encourage her? You know, sometimes the observation has to do with what the person talks about. You know, when you listen to people also, you can pick up their interests sometimes, the things they love to talk about. See, watch how their eyes light up when they're talking about it. They get excited. That will give you an idea. Wow, this is something that they're really good at. Something they enjoy. That's another thing too. If it's something they really enjoy doing, that can also tell us or tell you that this might be a strength of theirs. Because when something is your strength, you know, you never get tired doing it. And when you're doing it, you're not bored. You do it with excitement. You do it with, all the vim that you can, master. You need very little encouragement to go ahead and do it. So observe, listen, and then encourage. Those are three ways I'll say. And when they do something, let them watch their reaction. That will also tell you whether your encouragement is yielding positive fruit or not. You know, so that's what I'll say.
Very good, very good. So looking at the time, I think probably I'll give the last two or three questions, and then we can wrap
Yes.
up because it's almost time. So
Mm-hmm.
this question here, it's actually coming from Nigeria in Abuja, and the individual said that thank you so much. It worth staying up night to listen to this wonderful talk. My question here is that my husband is an athlete and I'm a musician. We don't have time very much for ourselves. About the least opportunity, we try to make the best out of ourselves. As we are
Mm-hmm.
aging and and as we are growing, do you think that it will be appropriate for us to cut off some of our extracurricular affairs so that we can spend time more for ourselves? We don't have any child, and we don't have any intent of adopting one. We just want to be with each other, and that's it. Do you have any suggestions?
It's not for me. It's not for us. It's the two of you. You know, it's your life and the way you want to live it and the time you want to spend with each other. You know, and so it's a discussion husband and wife need to have. You know, and then you can decide. You know, are we doing too much? What do you think, darling? What do you think, honey? And then you may find that those of you are okay with the activities you have. Or one of you might say, I think if we drop this, it might help us. You know, or you may both find things that you might want to cut because I'm using cut because you mentioned it. You know, but having said that, you may also be very happy with what you're doing now, and so you don't need to change. You know, as the saying goes, hey, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. You know, there's no need to change what's working for you. You want to improve, fine, but if everything is going well, enjoy and encourage others also with what you are able to do. That goes for all of us. You know, the aim of all of what we've been talking about is to improve our relationship, to deepen our love, to strengthen our marriage. Okay.
Very
You
good.
said you have two more,
Yes.
or anybody else on the line also you want to come on, fine. Sam, go ahead.
All right. So the last but one question for the day from my end. This is coming from Mumbai in India, and this individual said, "Thank you so much for sharing this wealth of knowledge with us. My question is a very simple one. It will not only help me, but I'm sure a lot of people is going through the similar situation. So my husband and I, we've been married for 13 years now. My husband is not comfortable at all when I try to introduce a new sex position in our marriage. He always preferred the same, and it's been the same for the last 12 years or so. And I don't want to look disrespectful, but can you help? What do you think is his problem?
I don't know his problem because I haven't talked with him. But we can take this offline. I mean, you can drop them a response. They can contact us separately. But I think, in light of what we've discussed tonight, you know, it may simply be trying to find out from the husband why he doesn't want to do something different. You know, he might be one of those people who feel it should not be the wife, who's coming up with this. It may well be. We can't say, you know. So that's what we'll say, and I think they'll be better helped, if we will discuss this and they can be more specific because there definitely is something more than simply he wants to do something, as we say, one way all the time. Okay, all right.
All right. So the last question, I'll take it from here, which is in the city of Woodbridge in Virginia. And this question here says that, thank you so much for this. I am a woman at the age of 35. I am seriously looking to settle down now. I have worked so hard. I have two master's degree. I have attained all that needs to be attained. Now it is time for me to settle, and no man seems to come my way. I've never married before. I don't have any child anywhere, but it's becoming so difficult for me to get the rightful guy to be with. I have kept my virginity for all these years, and now I feel like just giving up and just finding nobody at all because I am growing. Thank you. Good night.
The first thing I will let you know, please don't be desperate. Don't think of it that you are 35, so you are losing it, and you so that you don't end up with somebody you will forever regret marrying. Take your time. If you are a Christian, I will advise you to pray, commit this into God's hands, and pray that He will bring the right person your way. Sometimes the men may also be scared by how you put yourself out there. They feel you are too high up there, they are scared, so they don't know how to approach. We don't know. But yours is to commit your way into God's hands, and please don't be desperate. If you are desperate, you will collect any trash.
Wonderful. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everybody on the line. We've come to the end of a very interesting discussion. Help me to love you. But we are ending here. But I'm sure in many homes, for those whose day hasn't ended, we're going to, continue the discussion. Hopefully tonight, while it's still fresh in your minds. And for those whose day is just starting, you will have the opportunity to do so as well. Thank you all very much.
To Weekend Night Live, hosted by Samuel Jacobs Abbey, where we play music, talk shows, and interviews on Be Inspired Podcast Network. Stay tuned and keep your dial on www.beinspiredpodcast.com. Don't forget to stay connected, be inspired, be unique, and be different.
Hello, my name is Quan Green, and I would love to share some products that I found that are very beneficial to not only my body, but I'm sure that they would really help your body. I found out that a lot of us are impacted and we need to be detoxed, and I found some wonderful products that will safely detox you and help you to eliminate the waste and feel good about yourself. We also have products that will help grow your hair and give your skin more vibrant radiance and suppleness and help with wrinkles. I also have products that will help with joint pain as well as help you to lose weight. These products are all natural, therefore you don't have to worry about putting something in your body that's going to add problems to the problems that you may already be facing. So if you're interested, please give me a call at 706-426-1471, or you can email me at preciousjewel492@gmail.com. Thank you and have a blessed day.